Wunderbar. Yes, that's good. Whew. Well, in case you were wondering, Wunderbar is German for wonderful. For anyone who didn't know what I just said, I said wonderful in German. I don't speak German. It's just one of the words that I know in German. So, what's up, everybody? Hope y'all doing good. I'm Anthony K. Thomas, the author of My Life in a Nutshell, and I have been doing these story times for this book, My Life in a Nutshell, which is a story about my life, my memoir. And in the past few episodes, I have talked about my father. I have talked about love and my love story, and I've talked about being biracial and what that has meant to me, and how my father, and I've talked about my father, and I've talked about the feeling of being the black sheep in a family that looks at me as a reminder of what they hate in my parents. And it's been up, it's been down. There's been some good times I talked about and some low times I've talked about. I even talked about pro wrestling and what it's meant to me and when I first discovered it, and how it's been a constant in my life, especially during the hard times in my life. And I talked about that as well. So for today, and it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've done an episode like this. I got kind of caught up, a little bit busy with a few other things, and when I do these, I want to make sure I have the time to do these. And fortunately, today I had some time to do this, and I was excited because I love talking about any book that I write, and doing these story times for this book has been a great way for me to open up about me for anyone who watches these videos and wants to get to know me, and leave questions in the comments if you want to ask me something. So for this particular chapter, this particular chapter that I'm going to be reading is from chapter 7, and it's called Music is Everything. And normally I don't read anything from the book when I do these story times. I just talk about it, and then I leave it to you to read the book if you want. There is a link in my bio for this book right here, My Life in a Nutshell, as well as many other books and short stories I have available now. Click that link. That'll take you to my link tree. You'll see all of it there. But there is a little something I'm going to be reading that I have bookmarked that I want to read from here. It's the same thing that I did when I talked about my father. And his death and what my father was to me. I read a little something from that as well. If you would like to see that is available here on this channel. Go ahead and check out previous videos to check that out. But for this, we are going to be talking about music, chapter 7, Music is Everything. And I'm going to start by saying that in 1983, so in the spring of 1983, a few months before I was born in October of 1983. So this is spring of 1983. There was a special on NBC called Motown 25. And Motown 25 was celebrating 25 years of Motown. You had Diana Ross and the Supremes, the Temptations, and one of the Marvin Gaye, one of the biggest performances on there was the Jacksons and Michael Jackson. That was the big one. That was one of the big ones people were looking for. But overall, Motown 25 was a great celebration. And it is years later. It's 1987. 1987 was a bit of a year where my memories are even more clearer then, and hearing things for the first time and watching things for the first time. 1987 was when I fell in love with pro wrestling, when I saw it for the first time in WrestleMania 23. And music was really the first, and in 1987 is also the year I had my first memory of music. So 1987, I am in the living room playing with some Ghostbuster toys. Oh yeah, and I had this big house. Like it was the it was where the Ghostbusters lived and worked, and it was like the old firehouse, and you would have this big firehouse. It could open up, right, and you could put the Ghostbusters in it, and there would be like in the middle, it'd be like these strains where you could pour slime, and it would come with slime, and and it was green slime. It was so cool, like from Slimer, you could pour it down. My parents told me, do not pour that slime, and I know they said that because they didn't want to do no cleaning. They didn't want to clean it up, but I didn't listen. There was a time, boom, poured it, and it went straight down, and it was like on Egon because I put him in there, and it went all the way down to where the car was. So the car got slime too. So cool, loved it. But while I was playing with these Ghostbusters toys, my father was watching, and this is 1986 VCRs, and my dad loved the VCR because he had tapes filled with things that he would record, and we had just gotten cable, so like we had HBO, and Cinemax was new. There was the movie channel, there was Showtime. So all these movies that were in movie theaters, and then after they were in movie theaters for a while, they would come on pay-per-view, and then after pay-per-view for a while, they show up on these movie channels. So when they would show up on these movie channels, my dad would record these movies so that, and it was smart because he would never actually have to go to the store to buy the movie itself. He would just record. He would just wait a little while, and he would wait till the movie that he liked would show up on HBO, on any of those movie channels, and then he would record it, and then he would just have it for whatever, because blank tapes were a lot cheaper than buying the actual movie itself. So it was cheaper just to buy a blank videotape, wait till you get home, and record that movie. Genius. So that's what my dad did with Motown 25. He recorded Motown 25, and he just felt like watching it, so he threw it on. And we got to the part, and while I'm playing with the toys, the part came up with the Jacksons, right? And I'm watching, right? I'm watching the Jacksons. They're doing the classics, Love You Save, ABC, all that cool, all the great jams. And then Michael Jackson stays on the stage, and he talks about how he loves doing those songs with his brothers, being on stage with his brothers. But most importantly, he likes doing the new songs. And you hear someone screaming Billie Jean. And the second he got into position, the beat drop, and there you go. It's Michael Jackson, it's Billie Jean, and my eyes were like, fuck this Ghostbusters shit right now. Pay attention. And that was my first memory of music. And that's my first memory of being a Michael Jackson fan, was Motown 25, Michael Jackson performing Billie Jean for the first time. Now, he wasn't actually singing it live. He was lip syncing that song. But to watch him perform it and moonwalk, it was, that did it for me. And then not too long after that, that was my first memory of not being a fan of music, but being a fan of Michael Jackson. My first memory of being a fan of music really comes from, my dad had so much vinyl. And he had this one, and I didn't know what vinyl was at that age. And I was holding this record, I was holding this vinyl cover, and not knowing that's what it was at the time. It had a picture of this black dude on it, and he had his jacket, he was like this, hair, a little bit taller than mine is right now. I just got my hair cut not too long ago. And I pull out this giant black circle, right? Wax. And not knowing what it is, I'm thinking it's a Frisbee. And before I chuck it, my dad stops me, right? He yells, stop. And I'm just like, and I'm freaking out because I'm thinking I'm going to get my ass whooped, right? And he could have yelled at me and all that stuff, but he didn't. Instead, he said, that's not what that's for. And he takes the record and he puts it on the record player, puts the needle down, and then it starts to play and it goes ba 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 da ba da ba ba. Luther Vandross, uh, Luther Vandross, Never Too Much, and that was it. That was it. That's how I became a music fan. Luther Vandross, listening to Luther, that was it for me. Listening to Luther did it for me right there. It was the cherry on top, and I just found myself surrounded with the music my parents were listening to. With my dad, it was Michael Jackson. It was Luther Vandross. It was Atlantic Starr. That's with two R's. That's Marvin Gaye, Motown, the Philly sound, all that stuff. With my mother, it was mostly the Beatles. She loved the Beatles, but she also loved Motown. She also loved Michael Jackson, but it was Beatles for her. I remember my mom telling me a story of what it was like for her being a little girl watching the Beatles for the first time on the Ed Sullivan Show, and what that was like for her. And then with my cousins, when it seemed like they were tolerating me, there was my I'm gonna use real names for this one, because normally I don't use real names in this, but in this instance I'm gonna use real names. So there was my cousin Nathan, and he was big on hip hop. So hearing NWA for the first time, it felt wrong. It felt like this is not something I should be listening to. But when he hit play on that tape, and it goes straight out of Compton, or when I'm hearing Gangsta Gangsta or Fuck the Police, it's like music I knew I shouldn't be listening to, but I loved it. Or like hearing Run DMC, LL Cool J. So like I was born in the 80s, so I was like born just during the infancy of hip hop and all these, and as hip hop is really taking off, and then sticking with it and watch it how it's evolved over the years. And then there's my cousin Greg, who loved rock music. So with him, it's Metallica, it's Aerosmith, it's Guns N' Roses. So that was that's a nice introduction to music right there, and all of that. And then as I got older, finding pop music, and my mom was okay with pop music, but I found my way through pop music with like New Kids on the Block, with getting older and listening to like pop bands like NSYNC, Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, and like a lot of the pop music I would keep to myself. Like I wouldn't my friends knew I would listen to it, but I wouldn't listen to it with them because they would always make fun of me and call me names for it. So I kept that to myself. And the girls, when I was in high school, they loved country music. So it was like Shania Twain, Faith Hill. It was, I know I'm blanking on a lot of names, but but it's like that 90s field of country music at that time. Trace Atkins is another one that comes to mind. So yeah, I got introduced to that when I was in high school. So music has always been like this thing that has always allowed me to feel what I needed to feel in particular moments that are happening in my life. And that's the beautiful thing about music, is as I got older, I realized what music is. Music is what we need it to be. It can give inspiration. It can give inspiration to someone. It can speak to a movement that is happening. It's universal. It's a language that all of us can speak. And music has meant so much in the best of times in my life and the worst of times in my life. And I love music. And there's something that I want to read. A few things that I want to read, so bear with me, and I appreciate you for doing that. Music can be inspirational. It can be a voice of a generation. It can speak the truth when there is wrong in the world. I think of Public Enemy and when they came in strong with Fight the Power in the 1980s, like the Isley Brothers came in strong with Fight the Power in the 1970s. A protest song that speaks like Marvin Gaye did with what's going on, the wrong that is happening anywhere around the world, and gives us the power to fight for what is right. Music can speak to what's happening in the world, and sometimes music can hurt, make you cry, and touch you down to your soul, like when Billie Holiday sang Strange Fruit, a song that speaks against lynching of African Americans in the South in the 1970s. The lyrics she sang as it describes the horrifying truth of African Americans being hung from trees. And for those who don't understand and never lived with or through the pain that others do or have, I give an invite to understand that terrifying pain through the lyrics and the way Billie Holiday sang a beautiful, honest song in Strange Fruit. What connects us all is music, how we feel, how we get through our day, how we celebrate holidays and birthdays. Music reminds us that we are alive, that we have good days and bad days, that we can smile, be happy, be sad, and cry. Whatever we are feeling, music is the one thing that will understand us, give us a hug, and remind us that everything will be all right. Talking about music, I think of Luther Vandross and Frankie Beverly. When I now listen to Luther Vandross and Frankie Beverly, I love listening to their music. But when I listen to Luther and Frankie now, I hear my father. My dad was an incredible singer. He never took his singing seriously or tried to make it in the music business. He just loved to sing, and whenever Luther and Frankie were playing, my dad would sing like birds chirping outside. Now, whenever I listen to Luther Vandross or Frankie Beverly, I can still hear my father and picture myself back in his truck as we're driving to or from Sugarloaf, or catching my dad singing a Luther Vandross song or a Frankie Beverly song to my mom. Whenever I listen to Luther Vandross or Frankie Beverly, sometimes I tear up, but they're not tears of sadness, they're tears of joy, because I'm right back there with my father in the truck or at home, and all I hear is his voice. It's amazing what music can do for us or to us. It's amazing how music can bring up memories from our past and put us right back in that moment. Sometimes forcing us to face memories from our past that we tried so hard to bury. In a world filled with billions of people, there are so many of us that feel alone. However, we find ourselves in music. In music, we feel less alone. Music is everything, and because of my dad, my mom, my cousins, my friends, and the women that have come and gone from my life, music has been the one thing that keeps memories I have of them alive, for good, for bad, in my heart forever. Like it was sung by Boyz II Men, I can't help myself, I love her, she's my everything. I won't ever be without her. Music is my everything. And that, my friends, is a little story time from my memoir, My Life in a Nutshell. Once again, link in the bio. Click on that Linktree link. That'll take you to my Linktree page. You will see this book right here, as well as many other books and short stories I have available now. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can keep up when everything drops on this channel, from the story times that I do, from future social media book tours to backseat reading shorts that I do every day, all on the channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button to keep up when all that stuff and more drops. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, and all that stuff in between. I appreciate everyone who watches, the views. I appreciate every single one of the views. I don't take them for granted. I appreciate them. It helps. And I will be back next time for another edition of Storytime from My Life in a Nutshell. Until then, in the meantime and in between time, don't forget to take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all on that next one. Peace, y'all.